The national budget is more than just numbers on paper. It is a blueprint for how the government intends to serve the people. Without clarifying, or rather without clarity on how the budget will be funded, citizens are left in the dark about the sustainability of government spending and the long-term economic impact. This lack of transparency raises major concerns, although the government claims that the increase in projected revenue stems from improvements in collections by agencies like the Nigeria Customs Service, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, those agencies, right? It has also not yet released detailed figures to back these claims. So concerns raised by World Bank is that in its Nigeria Development Update, as at May 2025, the World Bank described the 2025 budget as overly ambitious. It warned that failure to meet revenue targets could force the government to resort to the central bank's ways and means facility. And of course, it says that a move that could or would undermine monetary reforms and destabilize the naira. Yeah. So joining me to shed more light on the conversations around our budget, and we're asking where the money is going to come from, is Adejoke Akinbode. She's a senior research and policy analyst at Budget. Hi, Adejoke.
Hi.
Every time we want to discuss money matter, we are happy to bring you because as I am like this, even the terminologies I'm not conversant with. But why is it though, right? A lot of us are still just kind of detached from conversations around national budget. I know we have discussed it before. Why is it so difficult for us to start paying attention to our budget, knowing that the budget is supposed to be the foundation of what the nation, both infrastructure, all our recurrent and capital expenditures and everything is going to be built on that budget. So why don't we just want to pay attention to it?
Thank you. I think the first thing is disappointment, or let's say the major thing is disappointment. When you are expecting a kind of document from the government and it's not coming early, then the document is released and you're not seeing what you're supposed to see or what is expected to be seen in the document. Citizens are disappointed and they just feel like, you know what, I'm tired of this. I really don't care what is going on anymore. So I would say disappointment. So people they've stopped paying attention to the budget documents.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's dive straight into the conversation. Something happened last week when the government came and announced that they had cleared off the COVID relief fund that was borrowed, right, from the IMF, that they had cleared it. I think it was $3.2 or $3.4 billion that they had cleared it. The only question I had in my head was, excuse me, sir, where did you get the money from? How did you clear it? You understand? Because these are the things that always happens, right? Nobody says you should not be ambitious with your budget, right? But the most decent thing to do as a government is for you to at least even tell us, okay, we generated XYZ probably from the oil revenue, because now these are people speculating that oil revenue, the subsidy removal, blah, 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 that was what they used, to clear up that. But the government has not come to tell you that that is what they used, because they've not even told us how much was generated from that subsidy removal, right? So examples would be the 13.64 trillion that is allocated for recurrent expenditure, that's salaries and overhead. There's another 23.96 trillion for capital projects. There's 14.32 trillion that is earmarked for debt servicing. There's 3.65 trillion that goes to statutory transfer. So all of this money, right, where will it come from?
That's a very big question, because in the previous years, when the budget document is released by the government, there's always a breakdown of where the revenue is coming from and a breakdown of where expenditure is, how it is going to be expended, right? But the 2025 fiscal year budget only came with how the money is going to be spent, like you stated. But wherever the money is coming from, nobody knows. the documents do not have a breakdown of the revenue. They've only stated, like we previously mentioned, that we are getting more revenue from some agencies like the customs, the FIRS, but there is no explicit breakdown of the revenue, which is actually very, very, unusual. Because in previous years, you would always see where the money is coming from, the amount that is going to be borrowed, the revenue that is actually going to be generated in the country. So no one, as of today, can really say exactly where our 2025 budget is coming from.
And Adejoke, it's so interesting because, like you rightly pointed out, previous government, it's even a thing to brag about. You understand? They will say, oh, my previous administration, they generated 10 billion, from customs, but we were able to triple that, or we were able to quadruple that. Look at what is happening with some banks, some banking institution. The former, what's it called, MD of the bank, with all the whatever, probably made, say, 10 billion. A new MD comes, part of his bragging right is to tell the management board, we moved from a 10 billion revenue to 100 billion revenue. And that's why we're able to, when we're telling you we need more branches, we need this, that is where the revenue would come from. And these are the areas that we were able to raise the money. So maybe we increased our asset management, financing, or, all those kind of things. But we are not seeing any of this with this budget. You're just saying it. Right? And well, some people have said that there is an overestimated oil revenue drive, that they said, okay, monies might come from oil, because the current projection is closer to, I think, 1.6 million barrels per day, not the projected 2.06 million barrels per day. That was one of the places where they said they were going to make money. But right now, they are not meeting the production that they said they will meet. Do you understand? So oil is one of the revenues, But in your own, because this conversation, I don't even know how we're going to take it. If the government is not willing to open up to say, this is how they want to break down this thing, what do we do in return?
Really, what we can do is to, keep hammering to the government that they need to explain to citizens how this revenue is going to be made. Because in honest truth, they are not doing us a favor by telling us, oh, this is where the revenue is going to be gotten. Is their, I would say, moral obligation to actually tell the country that, oh, the revenue is going to come from so and so place. So, but the government is trying to make it look like they are doing us a favor by even releasing these budget documents. We all know that the 2025 budget document actually was released very, very late. And it's something that over the years, the government have tried to, go back to the fiscal year of January 1st to December 31st. But we've seen with what is happening with the extension of the implementation of the 2024 budget, 2025 budget is not going to start, implementation of this year's budget is not going to start till around July. So, which has actually disrupted the fiscal year that we tried to go back in over the previous administration. So government needs to understand that they have the moral obligation to actually be transparent in as much as they can to citizens, to tell us that, okay, so this is how much we project to make in to be able to fund 2025 budget. This is how much we intend to borrow, because obviously there will be some loans and borrowings, and we need to realize that we've come a long way to to try to say that, oh, they are being transparent as much as they can. But now going back to this opacity is what no one understands really.
So Adejoke, I want to ask a very sincere question. Why? Because again, this is a question that we normally don't ask, right? If you really wanted to search through your mind, right, just based on the fact that you have done these kinds of things over the years and studied different kinds of administration, why do you think a government would not want to be transparent with the budget? What would probably be like if you had to do like a diagnosis? Why is Adejoke laughing? What would you think would be the things. Because me, I don't want to say it, but I want to understand. Because you see, my approach to these Nigerian issues, right, is I think I want to be asking a lot of whys. Because if we ask a lot of whys, we might arrive at the answer. And now, sorry, arrive at the root cause, and then we can now start to work it up to find a solution. Abi? So why do you think, in your mind, if you want to race through your mind, why would you think a government would not want to at least, break down this kind of thing? What would be the reasons? Or, maybe if it's just one or multiple reasons, what would be those reasons?
I would say it's very simple, right? If I'm being transparent with whatever I'm doing, especially as a government person, right? I want people to see what is going on in my office. But the moment I try to be shady with it, I don't want people to see. Then there's something I'm hiding. So basically, I would say there might be some shady things in the way they want to generate revenue, and probably they don't want citizens to to start how would I put it now? They don't want citizens to start attacking them even before they say, oh, they want to start implementation of the budget. I mean, there's something obvious that they're hiding for them not to release the revenue breakdown. I mean, you will always see over the years, you always see a well detailed revenue breakdown, even though maybe at the end of the year they might not have implemented it the way, or maybe generated that revenue the way they've stated, but you will have seen something similar in the budget document. But for it to be entirely omitted in this 2025 budget is there's something fishy. There's something that definitely hiding from us. And I would say maybe the major factor is corruption. So, because if there is the revenue breakdown, of course, there will have been some backlash from the citizens. There will have been arguments all over that. Oh, why is this figure like this and why is it like that? So there's something obviously that the government is trying to hide from the citizens.
Because you see, let me tell you why I asked that question. If I'm telling you there's no money, right? And maybe I am not showing you all the transactions that have happened. Say, now so Nigeria get money rich. Is this how Nigeria is rich? Because again, that's one fear. I don't want you to note the extent to which, the wealth is, how much wealth we have. Or on the extreme end is, like you rightly alluded, I don't want to tell you where this money is coming from. When you see money, Abi? Because it is money that we use to do the work. Because it makes no sense that you do a budget and you are unable to break down. So when that, for instance, that IMF loan, when it was paid, most people were celebrating. The question I kept on asking, I said, I hope it is not the loan that they just applied for that was approved. They collected part of that loan to go and, pay this loan. Because we need to be sure where we are. Because every time you hear the government is borrowing, and yet you're hearing some kind of outrageous, projections that you, just sitting down in the comfort of your home, you find it very unrealistic. If we were running Nigeria as a company, right, at the end of the way they demand banks to bring the books at the end of the year, right, to the central bank, to say this is the, the transaction and everything that happened, the financial year. It's the same way we're supposed to have, if we're running Nigeria as a country, have that entire breakdown. From oil, this was what came in. From this was what came in. But there are a lot of unrecorded transactions that go on in Nigeria, right? A lot of unrecorded transactions. Take, for instance, our mineral resources, for instance. With the amount of things that are going on, we started now, as we got older and wiser, we started, understanding that some of these insecurities that are happening all over the place, right? It is as a result of displacing the owners of the land so that they can, steal from their mineral wealth, right? So there's just a lot happening. And that's why I asked that question. So if now we are seeing that the government is lacking transparency in how they intend to generate the revenue, or the other revenues that they have generated in the past, what is the what's it called, the current update on those ones. If we're not getting all of this, then why do we bother? Why are we wasting our time? Adejoke.
Well, I mean, like you rightly said, it's really annoying at this point. If we are, I would say we basically with this current year's budget, it's like we are going back to the Stone Age. We are going back to where we actually, fought to live. I mean, for before they started releasing the budget documents, we know how much civil society organizations and citizens actually fought very hard for government to start releasing their budget documents. And it seems like we are gradually going back to that age again because this year they removed the revenue breakdown. Next year, what do we know if they are going to remove? Maybe the expenditure breakdown. They will just give us figures and that is it. So it seems to me like we're going back to where we are coming from. And if there's not taking the power that the citizens have is going to be totally taken away from them. Because if you can only ask questions from the government from whatever they release to the public. So now nobody knows where the money is coming from, and everybody is asking where is the money coming from. And there's no response. There's nobody. We don't even know who to ask. We don't even know who to direct the questions
I
to.
was just going.
Right?
I was just going to ask you that. Who do we ask? Who do we hold accountable? You just took the words out of my mouth. So we don't even know who to ask now.
So because everybody's just lamenting, we actually do not know who to ask because we're already used to seeing these figures in the budget document. So them releasing the budget and we are not seeing anything, initially the president had actually submitted a proposed expenditure of around 47.9 trillion naira and so data reversal around 52.2 trillion naira. Then when the National Assembly actually increased this figure again to 54.9 trillion naira without publishing any fiscal analysis to actually justify this addition is really, really alarming.
That's sad. Okay, let's go on a short break, right? When we come back from that break, we'll continue the questions. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying tuned. If you just tuned in, 2025 national budget is our conversation, and we're asking, where will the money come from? Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also call our phone lines. Please, if you know where the money is coming from, call us and tell us on 07025007749 or 07014242420. Please, if you know where the money is coming from, please let us know. All right, Adejoke is still with me. She's joined me via Zoom. Thank you so much, Adejoke, for staying with me. This conversation, I don't even know what to say. Because I was just going to ask you where would the money come from. It just shattered my, But we have to hold someone accountable, though, right? Because for us to sustainably fund the national budget, it has to be that there has to be certain kinds of priorities, right? The government must prioritize where the revenue generation will come from. We've seen how they've been talking about exports. They've been talking about the creative economy. They've been talking about a lot of things, right? So if we are clear that the government has prioritized probably these sectors and this is where, and we have clarity on where the money is coming from, then we can also have faith that the government will deliver on their promises as to what is written in the budget to say these are the things that they would do, right? But quickly, right, if the government expands the tax base, how will this impact our revenue generation?
I know they've been working when it comes to expanding our tax base, it's something that the government has been taking very serious, which I must commend them for that. So, but it's not just expanding the tax base. They need to ensure that they are not, there's no leakages in the process of expanding the tax base. The revenue being generated through tax is actually going to the right pockets of the government. They need to simplify the tax registrations and even the payment processes. They need to maybe something like using digital skills, digital tools rather, and mobile platforms to reach informal workers, because I think a very large part of our citizens are actually formal workers, and there's a way that they can ensure that they get the right taxes from these people as well. But not beyond expanding the tax base is to ensure that the taxes that they get is actually going to the pockets of the government. Not just some persons
No, so
siphoning the funds somewhere.
what you just said, Adejoke, I've always argued about this NURTW, right? And how their method of collection. And, it seems like they're collecting so much money. I hear it runs in billions, right? And yet they collect it in this manner. Who ensures that all that money that is coming is not going to somebody's pocket, that it is actually going into the government coffers, right? That is one big, what's it called, opportunity for leakages and corruption, because definitely I don't want to believe that that revenue is going, everything is going into the government account, right? So will it be easy for this government to embrace, a more structured revenue collection system, given that they are already used to collection in this kind of haphazard manner, so that they can continue to get away with some of the things that you're doing? Do you think they would embrace it?
So embracing it is less for them, but is it doable? Yes, it is doable. But it is, I mean, I always say that one of our major problems in Nigeria is implementation. I mean, we are very good in dishing out policies, but when it comes to implementation, we really, really lack that discipline in the country. So if they say they want to stop this informal collecting of taxes, it is actually very, very doable. We don't want to do it. We don't want to implement that. I cannot answer that for them.
It's okay. You just know how to remove yourself quickly. All right, so I was going to say that one of the biggest things that I've also noticed is, what's it called, the recurrent expenditures, right? I think it was last week, I was so upset when I saw that report that the Bauchi state governor was appointing, I think, 60 or 62 new special advisors. You understand? For already a system that is over-bloated, and you're still employing people. Instead of thinking of cutting down the cost of, governance, we're adding new portfolios, opening new, for how long can we sustain this? So how do we eliminate this unnecessary expenditure? Do you see the government having the willpower to want to reduce the numbers of, for instance, their aides, and all of this? Some of them foreign trips, all those things that they do that continues to dip our debt profile to keep going deeper.
I think in when this administration came into power in 2023, and the first announcement that same day was the removal of subsidy, and everybody was lamenting. I was like, I don't think it's a bad idea if only the government can actually cut the cost of governance. If citizens can see that government is also ensuring that from their own side they are trying to save money to for the country, I don't think citizens would be angry to say, oh, there's no more subsidy and we're also, spending more money, in as much as government is also cutting costs. Government can actually, cut the cost of governance. If you take a look at the budget documents, year in, year out, you see some line items that keep repeating. I mean, how do you explain that virtually every year you see, furnishing of offices, buying of kitchen equipment, and you'll be wondering, we also live in our houses. We don't replace these things every year. So are you saying the one they used last year, what happens to them? Or are you saying they're trying to, use those items to kind of siphon funds? Because I don't want to believe that they replace all these equipment, all these furniture, every year. I don't want to believe that. But every year, every year in the budget, you see this line item. So government actually, they can cut, if they want to cut the cost of governance, it is something that they can do. I mean, we have so many agencies and parastatals that you have that are really redundant. They can match these agencies together. They can match the parastatals together instead of having them, separately. They can actually. I mean, you see how much government spend on traveling, on hospitality, on procurement. These are things that they can actually be strict. If they want to be disciplined when it comes to budgeting, they can actually be disciplined. It's left for them to say, oh, yes, we want to do this. It's actually very, very doable for them. And when citizens say that, oh, government is actually cutting the cost of governance, no matter how maybe ash at the initial stage, any policy that government brings out, citizens will embrace it because it's not only affecting us, it's affecting everybody. And at the end of the day, we are going to benefit from it, really.
Absolutely true. I was just going to say to you that when you do not work hard for your money, you'll be changing cars every 3 months. You'll be changing cars every 6 months. Because even for ex-governors, have you seen their pension package where they are changing their cars every year, as if that you are here, you change cars every year. It makes no sense. As I said, if it is the willingness for the government, are they willing to want to even embrace things that would help our economy grow? They touched on boosting non-oil revenue sectors, right? Agriculture, manufacturing, technology. I don't know how far that is going, but every day I keep on seeing videos on go and register to export and all of that. I don't know how far that is going. But you see, one of the biggest driver of any economy would be the businesses, right? The SMEs, right? And if we are intentional about the government, improving the business environment, making it really easy. So it's not just saying ease of doing business on paper, but ease of doing business in reality, the ease of doing business. How well do you think the government is performing in that sense? Because again, if we are trying to target where the money will come from, one of the biggest revenue generator would be public-private partnership, would also be foreign direct investments, into your country. So how well are we playing in that space? Is the government really making it easy for people to want to transact business in Nigeria?
For now, with the way the economy is, I would say a lot of businesses have collapsed in the past maybe 1-2 years. So I don't think government is actually functioning or performing well in that aspect. Governments need to improve the private sector confidence. I mean, they can actually, because the truth is that governments cannot actually thrive without the private sector. And that's just the truth. There's a whole lot of revenue that can actually come from the private sector. They need to ensure that the kind of policies that they put in place are going to be policies that would actually, help businesses to grow. I mean, there is something called ease of doing business. So because if it's very difficult for investors to come and invest in the country, then how do governments get revenue from the private sector? They need to ensure that our policies are actually stable. Policy stability is very critical for businesses to grow, to thrive in the country. And they also need to ensure that, I mean, beyond looking at big businesses, all the small SMEs, they need to ensure that they actually invest in infrastructure that can actually lower the cost of big businesses for these SMEs. I mean, the private sector is one sector that we can, really, really rely on to get each revenue, but then government needs to put in their own work as well. If you keep bringing up policies that are not favorable to investors, nobody will want to come and invest or come and set up his or her business in the country.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. So how do citizens engage? How do we? What do we do as citizens? Quickly, run us through them.
I would say the first thing is what we are doing now, talking about the budget. A lot of citizens don't even bother to, nobody will, a lot of people don't even know that the budget document is available, right? So they need to actually ensure that they are enlightened, they have the knowledge, and they know that, oh, this budget document is available, and it is my right to actually, take a look at it and ask questions. They need to, track the budget. and ensure that whatever the government has said they want to do in the budget is what probably they are doing. Look at there's budget implementation reports that the government always release every quarter. But sadly, the last budget implementation report that was released was Q2 of 2024. So whatever that has happened in Q3, we don't know. Whatever has happened in Q4 of 2024, nobody has an idea. Yes, I understand that the 2024 budget is still, is still being implemented till end of June, which is just barely a month now. But governments actually, when they release this budget implementation report, citizens need to ensure that they take a look at this report and see how well the government has performed. Another thing is also to, they need to engage their representatives. You need to understand that, yes, you see these our representatives, the legislatures, they come to our communities every 4 years when it's time for election, and after that you don't see them again. But citizens need to understand that beyond the election period, you need to engage your representatives every time. Attend town meetings, write letters and emails. You can always write letters and emails to your representatives to ask them questions. And if you take a look at the budget items and you feel like there's something you don't understand pertaining to your community, you can actually, voice your opinion and ask questions. Also, participate in public consultations. Government agencies actually conduct public consultations when it comes to budget proposals. You need to be aware of these consultations. Actively participating in these consultations actually allow citizens to, provide input and also influence decision making to some extent. Yes, it's left for them at the end of the day to take your opinion, but you will know that you've tried your best in raising your voice and adding your voice to the budget to the budget proposal and decision making. Also, you can participate in also there is public budget hearing. So when these budgets when they're trying to put the budget together, they do what they call public budget hearing, where they call in citizens to come and take a look at the budget and give your own input as well. So it's something you can do. You can form coalitions. I mean, it's not really good to work in isolation. We have so many civil society organizations that are trying hard to ensure that government hear the citizens' voice. They talk on behalf of the citizens, and so you can also form coalitions with these civil society organizations. Participate in you can join forces together with them to ensure that you call government to order. You ask questions. I mean, it's not. When we were in school, they would tell us that ask questions if you don't understand. So it's the same thing that you can always ask the government questions. If you see anything you don't understand, ask questions. If you see anything going on in your community, if there is probably a project that is being they're working on and you just abandon it, you can always reach out to your representatives and ask questions. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, I would say of media to expose irregularities. You can, the media is one powerful tool that has really, really helped us in this country, and social media is very powerful. So you can use it to disseminate any information, raise awareness about corruption and mismanagement of public funds. Maybe you've seen a project that you feel like, oh, what they are doing is not what, you might take a look at the budget line items and realize that what they said they would do is 5 kilometers of road, and what they've done is 2 kilometers of road. You can use social media to, raise the awareness about that corruption, and trust me, you will see a lot of citizens, a lot of civil society organizations that actually take it up and work towards it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. I was just going to say that to touch on just that changing of kitchen utensils every year, I think the ideal thing is that the government is supposed to have like a hospitality team within the government houses, right? I mean, just like the way hotels are being maintained, go and get trained professionals and let them manage your home. But, again, we still have that, what's it called, that superstitious part of us as a people, because I see no reason why a leader is leaving, but they still did it in the US too. When Obama, they cleared the White House because this one wants to bring his own furniture and everything. But that is when they are leaving after their 8-year tenure. But when you are there, it should not be every year you'll be buying those kinds of things. So we should start to even punch holes in those kinds of items within the budget. Let's even start to shout from there. Let's start to shout from there that this is it should be expunged. If you are going to be there for 8 years, what you bought in the first year, you can use it for 8 years. You don't have to replace it. If you have to replace it, use your own money, you know. I think maybe we should start to call for those kinds of actions. But thank you so much, Adejoke. It's always a pleasure, you know, having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. So I would say for a call to action, visit shineyoureye.org to engage your elected officials. We always say this all the time. Budget has a tracker. They call it tracker to report abandoned or mismanaged projects. You can also share facts and figures on budget opacity on your social media and tag the relevant government agencies. Let them come and answer questions. Demand the government to publish a detailed revenue framework for the budget 2025. So how would they generate the budget? You see, these are the things that we should be fighting for. We shouldn't just be fighting blindly. Let's not be carried away by social media or anything. Let's ask the right questions. We must also attend public consultations, like Adejoke had said, to demand that our voices be heard when there is a budget planning. So, I mean, the 2025 national budget may be Nigeria's largest yet, in case you did not know. But its size means little without clarity. And of course, without credibility, and of course, without accountability. So citizens must stay alert. They must ask the hard questions. They must ensure that public funds are not only raised responsibly, but also spent in ways that benefit the people. So we must understand that as citizens, we have an office, and it is called the Office of the Citizen, and it's a very powerful office. We must start to intentionally occupy that office and ask questions. You thought social media was not big until the likes of Very Dark Man, the likes of Mr. Macaroni, and all of those people that have gone on social media, and they have really advocated for something that drew the attention, even the likes of the young girl, Ray. Right? So that is why it is so powerful. You never can tell what content would go viral. Your job is to continue to push it out there. Don't be quiet about it. Your office as the Office of the Citizen is the most powerful office in any, nation, in any nation all across the world. So we need to intentionally start to occupy our office, and let's not relegate our roles and responsibility. Right? Let's not do that, because if we truly want to see a better Nigeria, then we must be engaged as citizens.